Hello, internet fans, and welcome to 3B Video. I'm your host, Rottin Roger DeMarco, and today we're going to be talking about my top 5 horror films from 1992. And as always, the way that I do these lists is not by which films perform the best, box office-wise, and all of that hibbity hoopla. The way that I make these lists is by the amount of fun that I have with each film. So my list and your list, they're going to be way different. And I don't see a problem with that. Do you? If you do, then just be nice about it. But with that being said, and out of the way, let's get on with the list. So coming in at my number 5 horror film from 1992 is Bernard Rose's Candyman. What else can be said about this film that you haven't already heard? I don't know. All I know is this is one of the scariest movies that I have ever seen because I saw it at a very, very young age, and it petrified me to the bone. Subtle flex. I've had Tony Todd in my car, and I'm still not gonna say Candyman in the mirror. I'm not doing it. I mean, it goes without saying that Tony Todd absolutely steals the show in this movie. But this movie wouldn't be the same without that Philip Glass score. It's so haunting and sad and scary. This is just one of those movies that stuck with me, and it will always stick with me. And my kids are still way too young to see this movie. I cannot wait for the day that I can show my kids Candyman, because it will blow their minds. They'll probably sleep with their lights on for the next 7 years. I did. No, I didn't. That's a lie. Didn't scare me at all. Only a complete wuss would be afraid of Candyman. And only an idiot would say Candyman 5 times. Oops. I love this movie, and that's why it had to make my list. But moving on to my number 4 horror film from 1992 is Peter Jackson's Dead Alive, or Brain Dead. Whatever you want to call it, however you want to slice it. One of the most fun, splat-stick, gore-filled films I have ever seen in my entire life. I think that this movie is a rite of passage for horror fans. If you haven't seen it, someone undoubtedly has came to you with the film and said, "You haven't seen this? You need to see this." And if you still haven't seen it, that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm here. You need to see Dead Alive. Forget big money maker Peter Jackson. Think about indie filmmaker Peter Jackson. Just buckets and buckets of gore, stop motion animation, the most inventive kills you have ever seen in your life in this movie. Now, I know that this type of film is not for everyone, and that's totally cool, but I happen to really like this movie, even if it's sort of just gore for the sake of gore, one setup after another, but it really shows the heart and determination of an indie filmmaker, and I love this movie for that. So it had to make my list. New Zealand splat stick horror, on par with anything Sam Raimi has ever done. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But moving on to my number 3 horror film from 1992 is Frank Henenlotter's Basket Case 3. Frank Henenlotter is a mad scientist, a mad genius, and his films have a very unique style and vibe to them. It's this weird combination of horror comedy that I absolutely love, with really over-the-top monster makeups, giant heads, and all of these silly things. And obviously, Kevin Van Hentenryck as the lead in this movie steals the show. His comedic timing is top-notch. But the one thing that sticks out to me in this movie and sort of became a mantra in my house is the breakdown into song on the bus, where you have all of the monsters singing this song. And it's so silly, but my wife and I can't help but sing it for weeks upon weeks after watching this movie. It gets stuck in your head, and it just becomes part of who you are, part of your personality, if you will. See what I did there? That's a joke because the song says personality. But either way, if you're not familiar with Frank Henenlotter's catalog of films, do yourself a favor, open up another window, scour Amazon or wherever it is you buy movies from, and just start checking boxes, because his movies are top notch. And Basket Case 3 kind of sums up that popcorn as fuck vibe that we have here at 3B Video. So it had to make my list. But moving on to my number 2 horror film from 1992 is Manny Cotto's Dr. Giggles. I covered this film way back when this channel started rolling, but I don't talk about it enough, and that's a shame because this movie was my everything in 1992. It's so funny, it's so gory, and Dr. Giggles is the icon that we should have had, but we didn't get. He should have had sequel upon sequel upon sequel. I talk about the formula for a successful slasher all the time on this channel. Like, you need a cool backstory. You need a very unique look. You need custom weapons. And you need one-liners or catchphrases. And this movie checks all of those boxes. Why on earth do we not have more Dr. Giggles? I mean, obviously, rest in peace, Larry Drake. And we did get comic books and stuff like that, but what were they thinking in 1992? Why didn't we get more? Everything from oversized Band-Aids to syringes to super sharp thermometers, all of these crazy, unique weapons. It just begs for a sequel. And son of a bitch, we never got it. I've always had a soft spot for this movie. I think it's fantastic. It's hokey in all the ways you'd expect it to be hokey, but damn if it's not a super fun time. It's in constant rotation here at 3B Video, and I could not make this list without putting it on here. So that's why it's my #2 horror film from 1992. But moving on to my #1 horror film from 1992 is Anthony Hickok's Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. That's not even music from the movie. I don't know why I did that. This is by far the most metal, the most slasher entry in the Hellraiser franchise. And it is my favorite Hellraiser movie to date. There is no other film in the Hellraiser franchise that I have more fun with. I love everything about this movie. I love the silly Cenobites. Everything from CD head to camera head to weird open throat cigarette smoking lady. It's just bonkers wild. Not to mention one of the most iconic Pinhead scenes ever put to film with him in the church, and also the nightclub massacre. Great stuff. It doesn't have that weird, sweaty, sleazy, gross vibe that Hellraiser 1 and 2 have. This has a much more like direct-to-video, silly, fun vibe. And obviously, if you're a fan of this channel and what we do here, you know that this is sort of what we lean into. We love this type of film. So I know that there are people out there that really kind of hate on Hellraiser 3, but that's not what we do here. We really like this movie. So when I started making this list, this was the first one I filled out. Like, #1 is this, without a doubt, for me. So I'm sure that your list and my list are gonna be totally different. And that's absolutely awesome, like I said at the beginning of the video. But let me know your top 5 in the comments below. But I suppose I should probably get going, because after all, it's a lot of movies out there, and somebody's gotta watch them. So why not me? Hellraiser, where the baggy boo, well they boo,